Well, this is something that we want to do to make everyone aware that we are about to go through something that we've never gone through before. We are going to see rainfall at historic levels. This will be a historic rainfall event that we have never seen before in South Carolina. If you want to compare it to something, I would compare it to the two winter storms we went through a year ago. That's very much what we're going to expect. We are going to see power outages, we're going to see road closures, we're going to see a lot of flooding. So it's going to require a different type of work. What we're looking at is just, first of all, telling people to have a good, restful weekend at home. It is important, if at all possible, it is best if you stay home, stay safe. This is going to be, you're looking at about almost 14 inches in the Columbia area. Over the next 3 days, you're looking at 8 to 12 inches across the rest of the state. Over the next 3 days, it will start tonight. It will go through all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and we believe it will go until Monday and possibly Tuesday. So this is something that is going to be long lasting. It's going to stand over us. If you have to get out and drive, we ask that you do remember it's a good time now to fill up your car, put gas in it, stay out of low-lying areas. They are going to flood, and so go ahead and avoid that. We are going to have DOT, and actually EMD right now is looking at, we're getting a map together of what we think the vulnerable areas are going to be. What are the ones that are automatically going to flood, that we're already going to have to look out for bridges and road closures and things like that. Best to ride on interstates if you're going to ride, best to ride on main areas. If you live in a low-lying area, you need to really take precaution in terms of whether there's somewhere else you can go. Expect there to be massive flooding, expect you to have issues with that. We also want you to look at this, that because there's going to be power outages, you need to plan on having a power outage for a few days. So food, water, everything that you would need to be ready for a power outage, you want to do that. This may take, the difference between this and the winter storm is it may take us longer to get the power outages back up because of the wires underneath and everything else. And I've got Duke Scott here with ORS if y'all have any questions for him on that. We're going to go ahead and try to we are now pre-positioning. So we're pre-positioning sandbags, we're pre-positioning signage, we're pre-positioning where we think those roads are going to be closed. I have already directed Secretary Hall to go ahead and work with the other teams on which roads we're going to go ahead and close so that we know that. We know that we have a significant game tomorrow at Clemson. We want to make sure that everybody understands there could be some rerouting, so you need to be conscious of that and already go ahead and find out what that is. It is definitely going to move slower whether you're going into Clemson or out of Clemson, and it's going to be a lot of rain. So know that as that activity takes place. We are getting all our supplies ready. There will be shelters as needed. These shelters will be different than the winter storm. You'll see them more in churches, in areas like that where because we don't think we're going to have as many people. But this team is ready. We are ready to do what we need to do. We've got guardsmen on standby. We've got high water vehicles on standby. We've got sandbags, over 150,000 sandbags that are on standby, but we're even getting more as we speak. We're going to go ahead and start taking precautions of which roads to go ahead and close so that that's not an issue. What we ask is that everybody else be on standby. This is a time we need you to be prepared. This is a time that we need you to take care of your family. Know where your kids are going to be. They need to be at home. Don't plan on going any places that you don't have to go. And most of all, do not drive into the water. Don't think that your car can make it through. It can't. So you need to plan on, if you're going to drive, not driving into an area that you think you're going to have high water levels, because the worst thing you can do is try and drive through it. We've got some fantastic information on the South Carolina Emergency Management Division website, www.scemd.org. They have a fantastic Facebook page. So for those of you that are on Facebook, it's great to go to their website. DPS also has a great website where it will deal with any issues that they have around the state, so I would suggest that too, www.scdps.gov. And Secretary Hall, do you have one for DOT on road closures? What is yours?
scdot.org.
So scdot.org. Let's look at those road closures before you get out on the road. Be safe. We've already had one fatality from this already. The rain is going to come at levels we haven't seen before. Don't try and risk it. Don't try and dare it. If you don't have to get out, we ask that you stay inside and stay off the roads. And now I'll turn it over to General Livingston.
Just want to reemphasize what the governor said. We are prepared from the Team South Carolina and the military department to support Department of Public Safety from a safety and a rescue perspective, and South Carolina DOT for infrastructure protection. But the key thing is stay out of the low-lying areas. There's going to be flash floods. There's no warning to those flash floods. And once you're trapped, we can be a half a mile away and still can't get to you in time. So please stay out of those low-lying areas. We are prepared. We have more than adequate aerial rescue and high water vehicles. So Team South Carolina is prepared. Just need to make sure that South Carolina as a whole is prepared and stay out of those areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. As the governor stated earlier, Director Leroy Smith, South Carolina Department of Public Safety. As the governor stated earlier, our best advice to you is to stay off the roads. Don't travel in the flooded areas. Don't take the risk. The phrase "turn around, don't drown" could not be more important than now. So if you're traveling in areas where you see standing water, please turn around, because underneath that standing water could be down power lines, tree branches. Also, there could be chemicals or septic tank waste that could cause injury or harm to others. So please, again, that phrase could not be more important than now. Turn around, don't drown. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor. Kim Stenson with the State Emergency Management Division. We've got the SEOC, the State Emergency Operations Center, which is operational here right now, and it's got a full complement of state agencies that are prepared to do primarily one thing, and that's to support local operations and to support local authorities in their needs and requirements. And the governor's already mentioned some of that we're putting into place. We've got a great team here in South Carolina, from the local level to the state level to the federal level. We've got federal partners here that came in this afternoon. We've just got a very mature state emergency response team. We have worked together for some time. We have planned together. We have exercised together, and now we're going to operate together and work our way through this event here. And again, I'd like to remind you to take a look at our website, www.scemd.org, which has a wealth of information on there for preparedness and what individuals can do to be prepared, not just for this event, but for any event. Thank you.
Thank you. And just so you know, I do have Secretary Hall with DOT if you had questions, Duke Scott with ORS if there's any utility questions, and then others if you see that you have questions. So what this comes down to is stay inside. The rain is going to start tonight. It is not going to stop until Monday or Tuesday. We are looking at up to 14 inches of rain in the Midlands. We are looking at 8 to 12 inches across the rest of the state. Stay on high land. Don't leave the house if you don't have to. Prepare for power outages. Make sure that your car is full of gas, and keep your family close and safe, so that, as well as your animals, so that you don't have to deal with any more than we have to. Major flash floods. This is going to be a historical event for South Carolina that we have not seen before, but we are ready. So if we are ready on the state side, we ask that everybody be ready at home. Don't forget to go through and make sure that you have all your important paperwork together in one box. If you are living in a low-lying area, it's best to go ahead and move and get out of there, because we don't know how long it's going to take us to get you out of there. But we have the equipment, we have the sandbags, we have the people ready to go. We are pre-positioning, we're getting the plans of where those areas are going to be the most vulnerable. So we will continue to work throughout the weekend to make sure this is taken care of. And with that, we'll open it up to any questions you have for me or anyone else.
Governor Haley, with this being an historic event, what's your biggest concern right now?
I think the biggest concern is not knowing. You know, I think we know that we're going to have roads that flood. I think we know we're going to have power outages. I think we know that we're going to have issues with people trying to attempt to drive through it anyway, but it's not knowing where. because this is a statewide event, it's not like we can focus on one region. So it's very much the fact that, you know, we've dealt with hurricanes before, we've dealt with winter storms before, making sure that people take this rain seriously. This is not just any rain. This is going to be the heaviest rainfall we have ever seen. And for them to understand that what they usually see in Charleston with all of that water sitting up there, that's what the whole state's going to look like. And so we just want people to be prepared and take this seriously.
Governor, you mentioned the message of staying home. Well, with the Clemson game, should people just, if they have tickets, stay at home instead, or is there a possibility of postponing that game out of public safety?
So I've been on the phone with Clemson today a couple of times with Director Radakovich. They are meeting now. I think that they are going to give out a release around 4 o'clock. Was what they told me, if they haven't already, on what they plan on doing with the game. You know, it's your call as to whether you decide to go to that game. I know football fans in South Carolina take that football seriously. What I will tell you is you're going to encounter very slow traffic going in, very slow traffic going out, and people don't always know how to drive in weather like this. And so that's the biggest part that I would say is, you know, if you don't have to go, don't go. It is on TV, and I think that's best for everybody to know that. But if you do go, you need to plan for a lot of standing traffic, and you need to plan for a lot of rain and a lot of mud in that football game.
Governor, you mentioned that you're creating a map of the areas that might be hit the hardest. As far as people who live in low-lying areas, I'm sure they would be around road closures. Is there any effort to get in touch with them and try to get them to evacuate that home?
So I don't think we're doing any evacuations. These areas that have typically flooded in the past are absolutely going to flood now. So what we want people to do is, if you have ever flooded before, go ahead and get out of the way. Move to somewhere else. Get into a hotel. Go stay with a friend. If you need one of our shelters, you know, contact your county emergency place so that we can go ahead and start getting that shelter set up for you, because you will see that the roads around you will be closed and you will not be able to get out of there. If you choose to stay, you need to have plenty of food and water and plans for power outages, and you should expect that to go through Tuesday, and then I don't know how long it'll take them to get back up.
When and where will that map be posted?
We're working to provide that to the state agencies.
It was intended just to go to the state agencies, but what I do want to do is make sure that we might prioritize areas and get that up there to where people should take maybe more caution. Let's do that. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we have something. It will be on the EMD website. So that's the best place, is just to go to the EMD website, and we will continue to update that as we go forward so that everybody has the most up-to-date information as we have it.
In terms of those sandbags, where do you envision putting those?
So right now, that's the whole reason for the map, is we want to pre-position. We have about 150,000 right now. We actually think we're going to need more than that, if that tells you how serious this is. So what I have asked is that we pre-position those sandbags in those areas where we expect to have the most trouble. Those are going to be in those areas automatically, but we are going to have a lot of people on call, whether it's our law enforcement, whether it's our National Guard, all of those troops prepared to take those to wherever they need to go. We've got records, we've got those high water vehicles, we've got boats by DNR, we've got helicopters. So as we need to do anything, we're going to be moving those resources around. I think the General has 1,000 guardsmen working this weekend already that they'll be using as needed.
Governor, earlier this week, people probably saw the map and saw the hurricane tracking this
Yeah.
way. What are you doing to make sure that people aren't complacent and seeing that hurricane is no longer tracking here and thinking, okay, we're out of the woods?
You know, and that's just it. This is not the hurricane. This is a totally different rain event that we are having to prepare for. So what we're trying to do is to get people to understand, yes, we're out of the woods on that part, but we are going into a whole new ball game with this rainfall event. And so this is serious, and I want you to take this as seriously as we did a hurricane. Take this from the standpoint of the supplies and not getting out if you don't have to, and knowing that there's going to be power outages, because I think this is going to be harsh, and I think it's going to be tough for a lot of people who aren't prepared. And so we do want people to be prepared. We're going to continue to get the word out as often as we can. Our agencies are going to be doing conference calls at least twice a day as we go through this process to make sure everybody's talking and we're getting the supplies where they need to be. But people need to realize this is going to be rainfall of historic proportions. We've never seen anything like that in the state.
Have you been talking to federal agencies? What federal agencies are represented here? And
So I just signed a federal declaration, and we do have someone from our federal agencies has already come here that is positioned in the SEOC that we're already working with right now. Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Well, we've actually got a team coming from FEMA, an incident management assistance team. The head of that had just arrived here a little while ago, and they'll help us coordinate all the federal assistance. We've also got Corps of Engineers representatives already in the SEOC as well, so that'll continue throughout the process.
And Secretary Hall, let me just ask you, when do you think you will have that website updated with road closures?
It's live now, Governor.
Okay, so if you go to the DOT website, you're already gonna see the road closures there, and I think that'd be helpful for a lot of the citizens to know that as well. Any other questions?
With people's power going out, what is the best, I guess, route of communication for people that might need to communicate with emergency, I don't know if it's law enforcement or what have you? What's the best mode
The
of
cellular
communication?
system will still be intact as well as the phone systems, so we should be in
Yeah.
pretty good shape there.
So phones and, all of those things, you're still gonna be able to do that. So cell phones, you're gonna have, that's what we're gonna be doing on the state level, is we've made sure all our satellite equipment, our phones, everything's ready, towers, all of those things we're watching. So I think you're gonna have access to that part of it. But being able to charge that phone and having extra batteries is probably gonna be an issue.
Governor, the National Weather Service in Charleston just put out an advisory, and they're concerned that storm surge could reach over 8 feet in the coastal areas. Can you speak about the dangers of storm surge, especially in the Charleston area?
Sure, and that's an issue, not just for hurricanes, but it certainly can be an issue in this particular case. We do have the Hurricane Joaquin is out there, and it will cause some storm surge, also the tidal effects and that sort of thing. But I'll tell you, the local authorities are very much aware of that situation and are working that issue to make sure that those people that are in those low-lying areas along the coast are protected and working through that particular issue.
Governor, if I could add to
Yes,
that. The storm surges are a concern, but fortunately, the storm surges are going to occur a little bit before the rain fall. But you're going to have a lot of rain coming down these rivers, and a lot of it's going to be coming out of North Carolina. So when the rain is over, that doesn't mean that the flooding is over. In fact, the flooding may just be starting. So don't assume everything's good on Sunday afternoon when it starts trickling, when the rain starts going away. You really need to pay attention to your news. Make sure that you're check the websites to see where the flooding is occurring and what is predicted in flooding, because most of this is going to be coming out of North Carolina and northern part of the state.
General Livingston, on that same vein, we're talking about a lot of rivers cresting possibly in the days after the flooding. What will y'all be monitoring in terms of water levels at that point?
Well, we're coordinating with our neighboring states as well as the federal government, so we'll be doing some predictions about when we feel like the rivers are going to crest, along with the National Weather Service. So we'll be looking at water coming out of the North Carolina. Most of our rivers do feed out of North Carolina, and they're predicted to have 5 to 6 inches worth of rain. And normally that wouldn't be a serious event, but when you combine that with 12 inches of rain in South Carolina and then 15, 16 inches in the Midlands, all of a sudden it starts getting really crowded in the rivers. So you're probably going to see some cresting in the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday time frame that's going to be pretty sustained.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you very much. Thank you for helping us get the word out to everyone. Let's stay safe. We're going to continue to stay in contact with you and let you know the status as things change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.